guys, thanks for watching. I'm Saumya. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about my experience with reading Dan Brown books. So he has written 7 fiction books, out of which 5 are a part of the Robert Langdon series and the remaining 2 are standalone books. So I remember reading my first Dan Brown book back in 2013 and the book was Inferno. It came out in 2013 and I was blown away by that book, absolutely. I know this is not a popular opinion, but that was my first foray into reading thrillers properly, and Dan Brown's Inferno gave me a great mind-blowing experience. So a lot of people ask me this question, that are Robert Langdon books supposed to be read in the chronological order? If you can, then definitely go for them in the chronological order, but honestly I don't feel that it is in any way necessary. I never read these books in a chronological order, but I did not miss out on anything. So first I'm going to talk about the 5 books in the Robert Langdon series in their correct chronological order, and then I'll talk about his standalone books. The first book is Angels and Demons. This is the first book in the Robert Langdon series. So a world famous and renowned physicist is found dead because he has been murdered, and a symbol has been seared on his chest. This symbol belongs to a very powerful and a very secret brotherhood which was thought to be extinct, which is none other than Illuminati. This was the first book that I read which introduced me to Illuminati. I did not know about it before I read it. Robert Langdon is called because he is the professor of religious iconology and symbology in Howard University, and he is thought of as an authority on Illuminati. So on one hand this has happened, but on the other there is a bomb that is kept somewhere in the Vatican with a camera right there focused on it, showing the time that is ticking away. So Robert Langdon, along with Vittoria Vetra, who is an Italian scientist, embarks on this dangerous mission where he has to find out who was behind the murder of the physician, and also he has to stop the Vatican from blowing up. I honestly fell in love with this book because there were so many plot twists and turns, and towards the end what happened was something that I was not expecting even in my wildest dreams. It was fast paced, it was unputdownable, it was extremely interesting for me. So this book has like over 600 pages, but I remember finishing it in 2-3 sittings, and that was also because my time did not permit me to sit and finish it in a single sitting. Otherwise I would have definitely done that. The next book is the DaVinci Code. Now this is the second book in the Robert Langdon series, and I guess one of the most popular books by Dan Brown. So the curator of the Louvre Museum in Paris is murdered, and alongside his dead body some codes are found scribbled which the police is not able to make any sense of. So Robert Langdon happens to be in Paris at the same time on some business, and he is called up late at night to reach at the location of the murder where the dead body lies. Robert Langdon and a French cryptologist named Sophie Neveu try to solve all these riddles, and they realize that a lot of these riddles lead to the works of Leonardo da Vinci. The amount of twists and turns that this book has is insane, and I'm not even lying. The moment you feel that you have gotten somewhere in the story, you realize that there are more twists and turns that are happening and unraveling. Now a lot of readers got the kick out of reading this book for that very reason. There was a point in this book when I started kind of feeling like, when is it going to end? The story was not reaching any conclusion. Another very unfortunate thing that happened with me was that I kind of got a spoiler while reading this book, which is the worst thing that can happen while reading a thriller. So I had guessed about what the suspense might be, and the spoiler was something that confirmed my suspicion. If I had only been suspicious and not received the spoiler, I could have still enjoyed the book to a certain extent. Reading this book did not turn out to be as good of an experience as I would have liked. The next book is The Lost Symbol. Now this is the third book in the Robert Langdon series. So Robert Langdon is summoned by his mentor to give a lecture at the last minute in the Capitol building in Washington DC. When Robert Langdon arrives, he also brings with himself a small package that was entrusted to him by his mentor years ago. But when he arrives at the building, he realizes that his mentor is not there. In fact, he has been kidnapped, and a brutal and a gruesome symbol has been left in the building for Robert Langdon to find out. So his mentor's kidnapper contacts Langdon and tells him that he needs to do certain things so that he can get his mentor released, otherwise his mentor would be murdered. For the most part, I felt this book was pure genius. Again, this was one of those unputdownable books. During somewhere in the story, it kind of got a bit predictable, and I was able to guess very correctly what was going to happen, and this time I knew I was correct. But the good news is that it turned out that the suspense was far more elaborate than I thought. So even though I had a few issues with this book because of the predictability factor to a certain extent, I'll say I'll still recommend it because the writing and the plot of this book are both extremely engaging. The next book is Inferno. Now this is the fourth book in the Robert Langdon series and the first book that I read by Dan Brown in 2013. So Robert Langdon wakes up in Florence in Italy in a hospital. He has no recollection of the past few days and the doctor who's tending to him tells him that he's suffering from amnesia. Robert also discovers that he has a mysterious cylindrical object that has an inscription of a poem by Dante. Now while he's in the hospital, a female assassin tries to kill him. So Robert escapes along with Dr. Sienna Brooks and they're convinced that authorities are trying to get Robert Langdon killed. We get to read about Langdon and Sienna Brooks trying to get to the root of the mystery as to why Robert is being targeted. And because of that, they get into a lot of life-threatening situations which revolve a lot around Dante's Inferno. So not only in this book Robert tries to discover his own assassins, but he also has the responsibility to stop the world from reaching its impending doom. So because of all these things that are happening in this book, it becomes a very racy kind of a read, something that does not let you get bored. Again, this is one of those books that if I had the time on my hands, I would have loved to devour this book in a single sitting. It was so interesting and so intriguing. I loved this book very much because it was the first of its kind for me when I read it. The next book is Origin. This is the fifth book in the Robert Langdon series. So Robert Langdon is in the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao in Spain, where he has gone to attend the presentation by his former student and a billionaire computer scientist named Edmund Kirsch. Now Edmund Kirsch is openly atheist and for that he's a controversial figure of world renown. Now Edmund Kirsch's presentation aims to address two fundamental questions for humanity. The first question is where did we come from and the second one is where are we going. But before he is able to tell everybody about his discovery, something terrible happens. Robert Langdon finds himself in a dangerous maze of mysteries along with the museum director Amra Bidal, where they have to find a particular password so that they can find out what the discovery was. Now it is nothing new that Dan Brown's books have lengthy descriptions, but what I have observed with his books that I've liked is that if his stories are interesting and engagingly written, they kind of make up for the long descriptions. That does not happen a lot in case of this book. Sure, there are passages and portions in this book that are quite interesting to read, but for the most part, the descriptions in this book tire the reader out. They definitely tired me out. There was a certain build-up that this story created for the reader as to what the suspense might be. I felt as a reader that was kind of underwhelming. Now I'm going to talk about the Standalones, Digital Fortress and Deception Point. I'm going to talk about them together because I have the same opinion for both of these books. Both of these books have great blurbs, but the stories in both of these books do not live up to the blurbs, unfortunately. But when I read these books, they were unable to hold my interest. So as I told you, I read my first Dan Brown book in 2013. So I kind of got into a phase that, I want to complete all his books. I want to read all books that he has written, at least the fiction ones. So I was in that phase and I read all the books that came out because I did like some of his books from the Robert Langdon series. But if you like these books, it's completely up to you. We are different individuals and we can have our own opinions. So that was my video on Dan Brown books. Thank you for watching. If you want to connect with me on my social media, the links are in the description box. I'll see you in my next video. Till then, bye bye.